The Patterson Foundation
strengthens people, organizations, and communities by focusing on issues that address mutual aspirations,
foster wide participation, and encourage learning and sharing.
Welcome to Beyond the Blog, a podcast of the Patterson Foundation. My name is Ericia Henry, and I'm a fellow with the Patterson Foundation and your host today. And I have a special guest with me today, CEO and Principal Consultant, Laurin Kelly. Laurin, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you could join us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So before we get started, I wanted to just share a little bit of context about how me and Laurin met. So we first connected at the AFI conference in Atlanta after randomly running into each other at breakfast. And so after the conference, we discussed how we wanted to stay in touch. And after one of our connection meetings, we talked about work and, what we did in our journeys and things like that. And from that conversation and a follow-up conversation with Deborah Jacobs, I was given the incredible opportunity to be loaned out to Laurin's consulting firm. And through this experience, I gained so much exposure, especially in budget management. And speaking of Laurin's firm, it recently celebrated its 5-year anniversary. So congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
And from meeting you in Atlanta to working closely with you these past few months, I can honestly say it has been such a pleasure to know you and learn from such an intelligent, kind, hardworking, and generous woman. And so I've been so grateful for how willing you've been to support me and pour into me without any hesitation. So thank you again so much for that. With that background shared, let's jump into your first question. What inspired you to start your consulting firm, and how has your vision evolved over the past 5 years?
Yeah, great question. So my firm, which is called Battle Plan Strategic Consulting, founded in 2020. I started it because actually I was working with clients, individual clients in their career trajectory. So I started off what's called, B2C, so business to consumer originally. I'm very passionate about working with members of underserved communities. And as we all know, there is a wage gap. And so originally, the mission was to work with those individuals and help them close that wage gap, one individual at a time. And then it transformed into what we call B2B, so business to business services. And I realized that I could use my project management expertise and support nonprofits and mission-driven organizations. And they still do workforce development. There's still workforce development programs at these nonprofits, and they have a broader reach versus me just working one-on-one with individuals. So it kind of metamorphed, transformed into that. And we migrated away from individual career consulting at the end of 2024.
How has relationships shaped your growth and your direction for your consultant firm over the past 5 years? Because you talked about how it just naturally transitioned over the years, but have there been relationships that kind of helped you be like, okay, maybe this is more of interest. Maybe this is the route that I want to go into.
So relationships have been so important as far as my business is concerned. Even for the individuals that we worked with the first few years when Battle Plan first started, they've been able to refer me to project management consulting opportunities with various businesses and nonprofits. And so I would definitely say it's been a very important part of the business. I mean, your network is definitely your net worth. And I do feel like one area that I excel is relationship building, evidenced by, our relationship. And when I go to conferences, I definitely network with intention. And, I want to build those relationships. And relationship building is also a huge part of just project management in general. And so offering project management consulting services, I have to be really good at building those relationships and, maintaining trust so that we can get that project managed and executed at the end of the day.
And can you share an example of how relationships open the door just open the door for you?
Yeah, sure. So I have a network of Black women who are project and program managers. I have relationships with many of the women in that group. They've referred potential clients and current clients to me as a project management guru, quote unquote. Also, after I have built relationships and rapport with my clients, they'll refer me as well. And so, as I mentioned before, having those relationship building skills and demonstrating my value and expertise and adding that value in the engagement with clients has resulted in us obtaining even more business. even without me having to seek it out. Folks will come to me and say, hey, so and so referred me to you. And that is, I think, a direct result of building those like very strong foundational relationships.
Absolutely. This makes me think when I was in undergrad, how like it was like instilled into us, like you need to be networking, you need to be building these relationships. And I think at first I'm like, oh, like it's one thing to hear it, but it's one thing to like grow older and have these different experiences and then actually understand how valuable it is. And just hearing your experience over the years, even like before, and how like just connecting even in just like a natural way has just opened up so many doors and opportunities. Like it is so valuable to be constantly building connections and learning from people. Like even our connection, like I've learned so much from you in this little bit of time that we've connected, and I'm like so grateful, and I know that it'll help me. It's helping me now, and it will continue to help me in the future. So it's funny enough that this podcast is titled The Magic of Building Relationships, because it really is like a magical experience, and you just never know how it can shape your journey. So thank you again for just sharing your experience and how it's shaped you and your professional journey. What advice would you give to emerging leaders when they are in this space of like figuring out, how to build these authentic relationships and connection, and they have this desire to make real change and collaborate and just make a huge impact? What advice would you give them about navigating that experience?
Yeah, great question. So I think first and foremost, lead with curiosity and ask a lot of questions. So my methodology and getting to know folks is definitely being inquisitive. And also it helps you not make assumptions and lean into bias, which is important as a leader as well. Also, I would say as an emerging leader, it would behoove you to shy away from transactional relationships, make your relationships authentic and genuine, as you just mentioned, Erica. And while you want, even if you do want something in a transaction, so to say, from someone, it's a mutual exchange and it should be mutually beneficial when it comes to relationships. When we think of relationships, we think of reciprocity. Also, something that is very important as an emerging leader is communication. And I understand that for communication, some of us, it doesn't come naturally, right? Like some of us are more introverted. I'm an extrovert. So communication comes very naturally for me. But I would say that is a skill that you can work on. That is a skill you can take classes. I remember in undergrad, I took an interpersonal communications class, and it definitely just changed my life and my perspective and how I communicate, not just in my interpersonal relationships, but also in my professional relationships.
So you've heard it here yourself from Laurin, how what tips and tricks you can use in order to build these authentic relationships. She has a very successful business, and not only just this business, she has many other business ventures and ways that she's given back to her community. And this is a prime example of, how she is as a person and the relationships that she has built. So keep in mind all the things that she has shared. And then I also want to give you the opportunity to share anything else that you want to highlight that you think will be beneficial to any of our listeners, especially
Yeah.
as it relates to the impact of the magic of relationship building.
Yeah, I think that, we touched on this a little bit already, but the stronger your relationships, I wholeheartedly believe the more successful your business can and will be. Something else I want to share, I touched on it at a high level, but I'm also a nonprofit founder. I know, Erica, you mentioned I have multiple business ventures, and I'm very proud of the nonprofit. It's all voluntary, but it is a revenue generating nonprofit. I do it on a voluntary basis. And as you said, something I like to pour into, I want to give back to my community. I started a group of Black women project managers, and we are across all platforms at about 30,000. And while I don't have individual relationships with all 30,000 of those women, I do have pretty solid relationships with a huge chunk of them. So I think that just goes to show again, the value and importance I place on the network and the relationship building and how it's added value to my life as well. So just thank you for the opportunity to come and chat with you for a little bit. I really appreciate it. And yeah.
Thank you, Laurin. So, thank you for joining me today. And listeners, to learn more and stay tuned, please visit thepattersonfoundation.org. And also, Laurin, if you want to plug your website or your LinkedIn, feel free to do that.
Yeah. So the website is www.battleplan, S as in Sam, C as in cat.com. I know it's a mouthful, but it is a play on words. My maiden name is Battle. And then my LinkedIn, you can find me under Laurin, Laurin, Kelly, Kelly. I am very active on there, and I have a pretty large LinkedIn following as well. So I would love to add those of you who are listening.
Thank you so much.